He was Germany's second highest scoring ace of the First World War, celebrated as a daredevil, adored as a hero. But in Hitler's Reich, Ernst Udet became something else, a man trapped inside the system he helped build. When World War I began in August 1914, 18-year-old Ernst Udet was already obsessed with flight. Born in Frankfurt and raised in Munich, he built model planes and watched early aviators soar over Bavarian fields. Yet when he volunteered for service, the German army turned him away. He was too short to meet the height requirements for pilots. Instead, he joined as a motorcycle courier, racing across muddy roads to deliver messages between frontline units. It was dangerous work, but it brought him close to the world he truly desired, the sky. By 1915, Udet's determination paid off. After earning his pilot's license at the Otto Works Aviation School in Munich, he was assigned to reconnaissance duty in the Bavarian Air Service. It was unglamorous work, long, slow flights over enemy trenches, but his precision flying earned him a transfer to Jasta 15. Udet quickly proved himself. Flying the agile Albatros D3, he showed a natural feel for air combat, timing, movement, and daring. His first aerial victory came in March 1917, and he soon joined the elite ranks of Germany's fighter aces. When Manfred von Richthofen formed his famous Flying Circus, Udet was invited to join. Their relationship was complicated. Richthofen admired Udet's talent, but disapproved of his showmanship. Udet, meanwhile, idolized the Red Baron, but never fully embraced his strict discipline. By 1918, Udet had become a national celebrity. With 62 confirmed kills, he was the highest-scoring German ace to survive the war, second only to Richthofen himself. He received the Pour le Mérite, Germany's highest military honor, and commanded his own unit, Jasta 4. His aircraft bore his flamboyant personality, a red Fokker D7 with "Low" painted on the fuselage, the nickname of his fiancée, Eleonora Zink. Udet often returned from his missions with bullet holes in his wings and a grin on his face, earning a reputation as both reckless and brilliant. He was also one of the first pilots ever to survive by parachuting from a disabled plane, a testament to both luck and ingenuity. Fellow flyers remembered his sense of humor, his charm, and his tendency to perform daring aerobatics even under enemy fire. The war turned him into a symbol of Germany's aviation prowess, fearless, inventive, and modern. But when the guns fell silent in November 1918, Udet was left stranded between two worlds. The empire he had fought for was gone. The Luftstreitkräfte, the German air service, was dissolved under the Treaty of Versailles. For a man who had lived for the thrill of the sky, peace felt like exile. Udet would spend the rest of his life chasing the feeling of flight and trying to survive in a country that no longer knew what to do with its heroes. The end of World War I left Germany grounded, and so was Udet. At 22, he was one of the nation's most decorated pilots, but his skills had no place in a demilitarized country forbidden to build aircraft. The Treaty of Versailles had clipped the wings of German aviation, yet Udet refused to stay earthbound. In Munich, he joined the wave of ex-pilots who turned flying into spectacle. With borrowed machines and makeshift airstrips, he began performing stunt shows before crowds hungry for excitement in a defeated nation. The 1920s turned Udet into a celebrity all over again. He founded his own aircraft company, Udet Flugzeugbau GmbH, in 1921, producing small sports planes like the U-12 Flamingo. His light, agile designs gained popularity with flying clubs across Europe, but financially, the company was unstable. Germany's economy was collapsing and investors were scarce. By 1925, Udet's firm went bankrupt, another casualty of hyperinflation and post-war chaos. He pivoted, using his fame to keep himself in the air. Udet became a barnstormer and racer, flying demonstration tours across Europe and South America. In 1931, he competed in international air meets in the United States, performing inverted loops and vertical climbs that thrilled spectators. Reporters called him the fastest man in Germany. He loved the attention, the applause, and the illusion that flight was once again about freedom, not war. His daredevil style also attracted filmmakers. During the early sound era, Udet worked as both pilot and consultant on German adventure films like Sturm über dem Mont Blanc and SOS Eisberg, collaborating with Arnold Frank and Leni Riefenstahl. His stunts flying through mountain passes and skimming glaciers brought him cinematic fame and dangerous close calls. Yet beneath the glamour, Udet struggled. His private life was turbulent, marked by broken engagements and restless travel. Friends described a man chasing constant distraction. He drank heavily and often spoke of feeling useless in a country still nursing defeat. Like many veterans, he was nostalgic for the camaraderie and clarity of wartime service. That nostalgia made him vulnerable when politics returned to the cockpit. In 1933, former flying ace Hermann Göring, now head of the new Reich Air Ministry, reached out. Göring needed famous names to legitimize Germany's secret rearmament program. Udet resisted at first. He preferred stunts to state service, but the offer was tempting: steady funding, access to cutting-edge aircraft, and the promise to rebuild German aviation. According to later accounts, Göring even secured American Curtiss Hawk fighters for Udet's testing, a gesture that sealed the deal. Udet joined the Nazi Party that year, and within months, Göring placed him inside the new Reich Air Ministry. By 1935, Göring's prized recruit had risen to colonel, placed in charge of the Luftwaffe's T-Amt or technical department, the branch that would define both his success and his downfall. The showman who once looped over Alpine peaks was about to learn that in Hitler's Germany, flight no longer meant freedom. Inside the Reich Air Ministry, Udet quickly learned that command was far less forgiving than the open sky he once ruled. As the head of T-Amt, he was now responsible for the research, testing, and procurement of all Luftwaffe equipment, a colossal task that demanded political ruthlessness more than daring, and that, more than anything, would prove his undoing. Still, Udet left his mark. He pushed hard for the concept of the Sturzkampfflugzeug, or dive bomber, an idea he had admired during his visits to the United States, where he tested Curtiss aircraft capable of near-vertical dives. Udet believed that precision attacks could break enemy morale and support ground forces with devastating accuracy. His enthusiasm inspired the development of the Junkers Ju-87 Stuka, the plane that would become one of the Luftwaffe's defining and most infamous symbols. Yet critics inside the ministry argue that his obsession with dive bombing distorted priorities, diverting resources from faster, more versatile fighter designs. By 1938, these internal tensions deepened. The Luftwaffe was expanding faster than Germany's industry could sustain, and Udet's technical branch was blamed for delays and defects. Göring shielded him at first, valuing his fame and charisma, but the workload crushed him. Udet began drinking more heavily, often retreating to his workshop to work on prototypes while staff struggled with paperwork piling up on his desk. In February 1939, Göring promoted Udet to Generalluftzeugmeister, Director General of Equipment. The title sounded grand but carried crushing responsibility. Every aircraft Germany built or tested would now fall under his watch. Udet knew he wasn't suited to it, yet pride and loyalty kept him from refusing. On paper, his task was to prepare the Luftwaffe for war. In practice, he had to navigate a system riddled with corruption, favoritism, and impossible demands from Hitler himself. Designs changed mid-production, factories lacked materials, and military, political, and industrial factions pulled in different directions. He toured plants, encouraged engineers, and kept experimenting with weapons, but he was increasingly out of his depth. When Hitler invaded Poland in September 1939, the Luftwaffe's early success hid the cracks already forming beneath its surface. For Udet, victory meant only greater expectations and greater blame when things went wrong. The boy who once chased clouds now found himself trapped in a web of memos, rivals, and impossible orders, a prisoner of the machine he'd helped build. The outbreak of World War II pushed Udet to the edge. Now responsible for the Luftwaffe's entire arsenal of research, design, and production, he wielded immense authority, but almost no real control. Hitler's ambitions grew faster than industry could deliver, and every delay or defect was traced back to Udet's desk. He was expected to deliver miracles, faster planes, longer range, endless reinforcements, on a timeline that defied reality. At first, early victories masked the strain. During the Polish and French campaigns, the Luftwaffe appeared unstoppable. The Stukas that Udet had championed screamed down on targets with terrifying precision, cementing his reputation as a visionary. But the illusion of invincibility faded by 1940. When the Luftwaffe met the Royal Air Force over Britain, Germany's air strategy, built on short-range bombers and dive attacks, collapsed under the weight of its own limitations. The Battle of Britain exposed every flaw Udet had tried to hide: shortages of spare parts, unreliable engines, and production bottlenecks he could no longer manage. Inside the Reich Air Ministry, scapegoats were needed. Göring, ever concerned with appearances, turned on his old comrade. He accused Udet of incompetence, of being too soft on engineers, too weak to impose discipline. Erhard Milch, his rival and deputy, quietly maneuvered to strip him of influence. For Udet, the humiliation was unbearable. He withdrew from meetings, spent hours alone in his office, and drowned his anxiety in alcohol. Friends noticed his growing despair. The once exuberant pilot who loved laughter and risk now trembled under the weight of his own uniform. In the spring of 1941, Udet was sent on an inspection trip to the Soviet Union. The visit impressed and alarmed him. He realized that the Red Army's aviation industry was vast and modern, far more advanced than Nazi propaganda admitted. He returned to Berlin warning that an attack on the USSR would be disastrous without massive reorganization of Germany's aircraft production. Göring dismissed the report, and some sources claim even suppressed it to avoid contradicting Hitler's optimism about Operation Barbarossa. For Udet, it was the final betrayal. By autumn, his mental and physical health had collapsed. Letters and diary notes from the time reveal exhaustion, paranoia, and regret. He felt he had betrayed aviation, the art he loved, by allowing it to become a political weapon. On November 17, 1941, he locked himself in his study at home in Berlin and shot himself with his service pistol. His last note reportedly included a plea for forgiveness and an accusation aimed at Göring and Milch. The Nazi regime immediately covered up the truth. Official reports claimed that Udet had died in a test flight accident. His funeral at the Invalidenfriedhof cemetery was conducted with full military honors, attended by Göring and other high-ranking officials who praised his heroic service. Within months, the fighter wing JG-3 was named Udet in his honor, an effort to mythologize him as a loyal servant rather than a disillusioned casualty of the system. Ernst Udet's rise and fall captured the contradiction of his time. His innovations shaped the Luftwaffe, yet his spirit broke under the very system he helped empower. Today, his name endures not just as that of an ace, but as a warning that even talent can be destroyed when freedom gives way to obedience. Thanks for watching. Watch our other videos for more on figures who shaped World War II. Like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell for more History Inside, and we'll see you in the next one.